doctor tells you you have exactly 1 minute to live, what do? You use every millisecond of that minute to make sure the doctor's wrong. I know this because I lived it. We were 9 days into rowing 5,000 kilometers across the Pacific Ocean, and I'm with my best friends, Ollie, Barney, and Harry. And we see this giant cargo ship bearing down upon us. We're just 60 seconds until our tiny rowing boat is smashed into driftwood. Ollie, get the flares! Barney, on the radio! Harry, life jackets! And me? Well, somebody had to be holding the camera, right? We frantically got on the radio. Turn port side, turn port side. But to our horror, the ship turned directly in front of us. Back on the radio, the other port side. The frightening moment as this steel wall grew bigger and bigger, closer and closer, I felt the weight of my own stupidity. What was I doing out there, so far from help? The ship turned at the last possible minute, and we erupted into this nervous laughter that masked the moment before. But that wasn't our last brush with disaster. We weathered 2 storms, faced 40-foot waves, and situations that challenged every fiber of our being. But stroke by stroke, bit by bit, day by day, we made it across the Pacific Ocean in 39 days to the beautiful island of Kauai, the destination that we had been dreaming of for so long. Thank you. For me, the Pacific crossing was an accumulation of a 10-year vision that I had for myself to create a life of adventure whilst documenting it for television. And in this time, I learned to fly, I dove to shipwrecks, and I even ran 7 marathons on 7 continents in just 5 days, all testing the limits of human resilience. But this led me to ask the question, why do some people have grit and others don't? But the thing that fascinated me the most was neither me nor any of my rowing partners ever rowed across a river before we took on the Pacific Challenge. I'd only run 1 marathon before taking on 7 in 5 days. It wasn't about skill or ability, it came down to something else entirely: grit. The ability to keep pushing through the tough situations day after day. This led me to ask, is this something that can be developed? Can we train grit? And most critically, how do we develop grit in the next generation? Over the last couple of years, through much research and self-reflection, I put together what I call the grit code, principles that I relied on to get me through some of the toughest challenges in the world. Principles like having a long-term vision that aligns with your purpose and passion in life. It would have been completely illogical for me to be rowing 14 hours a day, 39 days in a row, through seasickness, 40-foot waves and storms, if it wasn't part of a bigger vision for what I had for my life. But because it was, it meant that all of those things were just a task that needed to be done. Planning meticulously, but having the ability to change to creative solutions when needed. We had trained every day for 2 years. We knew everything there was to know about rowing an ocean. But as soon as we left sight of shore and waved goodbye, we realized that what was knowable was just a drop in the ocean compared to what was unknowable. And the rest we had to find out along the way. And that's when we had to have the ability to adapt. Positive thinking. Now, I'm a positive person, as I'm sure you are too, but when we're faced with a situation where we've had experience, often our belief in the outcome is limited. And that limiting belief transcends into our actions. But we can change how we think about things. When I learned to fly, no matter how much you had learnt on the ground, at some point, you had to stand on the runway, hit the throttle, full blast, and with 100% confidence, go forward. And that was only possible because of practicing little micro experiences, like breaking it down and practicing those until you create the positive reinforcement that gives you the belief that you can do it. Surrounding yourself with persevering people. Now, not only does grit transfer almost like osmosis, but which makes it really important to have people with a high level of grit around you, but you've also got to make sure that you are that person, that example of grit. And finally, stepping outside your comfort zone. When we saw that ship coming towards us, if we hadn't practiced being outside of our comfort zone, we would have freaked out. We would have got into fight or flight and freaked out. And let's be honest, we did freak out a little bit. But we managed to come to a solution and control the situation. The world is facing its own impossible odds right now. Climate change, global health crisis, technology disruption. All of these issues require leaders with incredible resilience. The grit code is something that can be adapted by anybody. So what I propose is a rewiring of how we think about learning, from schools to professional education, to rebalance the way we learn from knowledge and skills to the mindsets that create tough, capable, resilient individuals. When we look to the future, the challenge won't be, the question will not be what challenges we face. The question will be, do we have the leaders with the grit to overcome it? Thank you.